Mr.
Well,
Bailey, I know we are gathered here today to speak about how you are shaking up the footwear industry. You are featured in episode 3 of Visionaries
yeah,
alongside other trailblazers in various industries, right? So, just really quickly for my readers who may not be familiar with you, just quickly, I just want to give them a little background. Mr. Bailey, former head of Yeezy Innovation Lab, co-founder and creative director of FCTRY LAB, a leading Black-owned independent footwear innovation company. Now, I'll be honest with you, until I saw the Visionaries trailer and you featured, and then I got your bio, I had never heard of your brand, and I'm just blown away by your journey, your innovation, your collaborations. I mean, you've worked with some incredible cultural icons, Jay-Z and El Chapa, Timberland, brands like Timberland, Adidas, and now like I mentioned, you're featured in Visionary. So let's kick things
yeah.
off by asking that. What does it mean to you to be recognized in this way? And what do you hope audiences take away from your episode?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And yeah, no, the Visionaries series was amazing and a blessing. And I'm super appreciative of Keanu Reeves and Guard Hollinger wanting to shine their light on me, my story, my journey, and how this factory lab sort of, company, business, brand came along. And it was great. We had a great time shooting. We filmed it almost a year ago, over a couple weeks in LA, and we went back to Florida to see my family, and just be able to tell that arc and that story of of my journey, which is one of I think of passion, commitment, but determination, one of resilience for sure. And I'm just glad that they were able to put that story out there, and I hope there's at least one person out there who that story would inspire, motivate, and impact in a positive way. Well, my passion for footwear goes back well before Factory Lab was even, conceived or a thought or an idea. I started drawing and sketching sneakers as a 7-year old when I was growing up, and my parents are from the Caribbean, from Jamaica. I was born in New York and we relocated to Florida in the early 90s. And when, in the early 90s, the Air Jordans and the sneaker craze was becoming a craze, right? Like it was kind of new. We never seen lines forming around corners of stores or anything like that. That's all very familiar to us today, but like then it was a new thing. And in some communities, it wasn't so safe to be walking around wearing those kinds of shoes because you were afraid that they were going to get taken off your feet. Some people might have gotten beat up for them. Some might have gotten worse to get their shoes for them. And I went to a grade school that was in a pretty rough area, and and I saw plenty of kids who had to walk home barefoot with no shoes on. So as a result of that, my parents didn't want to buy me sort of the really sought after shoes. So since I couldn't have them in reality, then drawing them on paper and looking at my East Bay magazines was sort of my way to, I guess, satisfy that appetite that I had for wanting the shoes, like just being able to visualize it in my head and sketch it on a piece of paper was made me happy. And I did that, not knowing where any of that would go, but that was where, the passion started. And then that led me into art school, and then art school led to art college, where I was able to get a handful of different internships with New Balance, K-Swiss, Adidas, and other brands and companies. And then fast forward all the years later to Factory Lab, after I lived in India for 3 years, ran shoe factories there. I lived in China. I spent a lot of time overseas abroad, really understanding global supply chain, not just design. I'm not just a designer, but I'm someone who really understands the business of footwear from A to Z. And I was able to acquire that knowledge over those years of doing that, which led me to Yeezy, and then post Yeezy, starting Factory Lab, where me and my co-founder Abi were able to put together a really strong business model and plan, and 2.5 years ago, go out and raise $6 million to get the company started off the ground, which then led to actually recently our Series A that we've closed at a little over 9 million. So we've been able to raise over $15 million in venture capital to build this company. And last year we had some success with NLE Choppa and the Duck Boot, who's a young rapper who's very, very popular amongst I don't even know what you call that younger generation. I don't think it's Gen Z. It's something else now. But we came together and we created the shoe together within our business model of empowering creators and cutting them in on the revenue in a way that big brands don't necessarily work. And that business model was attractive to him. And aside from that, we hit it off, me, him, and his mom, and they're just fantastic people. His mom is great. And then you realize why he's so great as he is when you meet his parents. And we just hit it off, and we were aligned from the very beginning, and we were able to launch this product in the market and really be able to prove out the business model that I can come, or Factory Lab could come together with a creator or a public figure such as himself, and combined our two machines and have the success that we were able to have. Now we're able to take that and learn from it, and build on that. So that's the foundation now of Factory Lab, and our goal is to continue to do that with other partners, other brands, other creators, and continue to help them build their brands through footwear in a big way. And hopefully we'll be able to, turn this company into an even bigger entity in the very, very near future. What innovations in design and manufacturing am I most excited about right now? I mean, the whole world is completely, at all with AI right now. And I think we're still figuring out how to integrate that into our business. I think there's a couple ways to do it, and I don't think it's all creative, at least from our perspective. I think, you know, one way is just operationally the way you run your business, and I don't know whether it's like accounting or other little things like that, or well, not little things, but big things like that, where maybe AI can assist and help from that perspective. Um, and I'm still learning every day how that all works. And as we continue to learn, then I think it'll become more obvious how we integrate that into the business. From a creative perspective, um, I'm, I all the design kind of starts and stops with me. I have a design team, and they're great. And we have a very specific way, and we like to work. I love to draw and sketch. So like, I guess call me old school or a dinosaur or whatever you want to call me, but I like getting my sketchbook and just getting the pen and just kind of sketching, and then I'm able to sort of share visually those thoughts and ideas with the creators on my team. And then we're able to further develop those ideas into like digital 3D renderings and 3D models, and whatnot. I guess if I had to say, if to answer your question specifically on a technology that I might be excited about, it would probably be more about how 3D printing continues to evolve. We use a lot of 3D printing right now as a tool for the development process. So when you're creating a shoe and you move into the actual physical creation of it, 3D printing can play a vital role in it, because you're able to turn those concepts around pretty quick. Although they're not going to be identical in terms of feel and like it being soft, like have a soft touch like leather or a material like that. It's still a great visual representation of what you're creating, and it allows you to make more informed decisions creatively on what you want to do and how you want to make those changes. So what I'm excited to see is like how that continues to evolve. I know companies like 3D Systems and Stratasys and others out there who are continuing to push the envelope on 3D print materials, their 3D printers in general, and the types of materials that they can print and get into places where they can produce more softer, like feeling type of materials that feel more like an actual product. That part, and then metal 3D printing is actually super exciting to me because one part of developing and producing shoes is making the molds for the sole. So you have a sole, so like any shoe that you buy or sneaker has like a rubber sole or an EVA sole that you walk on. That's the soft, cushy part that gives you all the comfort. There's a mold that needs to produce that part. And usually those molds are very large and they're generally made out of aluminum or steel or some kind of metal composite, and those molds have to be made right now in like CNC machines, and other equipment, and it takes a while to create. A while meaning like upwards of a month to get these things done. Especially if you're making tweaks and changes to it along the way, then that just kind of prolongs the entire process. 3D metal printers are going to allow us to like speed that process up even more so that you don't have to lose so much time on making the molds for the part. So they exist right now, but they're pretty expensive in terms of the cost of the machine and then the cost of the part that it actually makes. So I'm excited to see as that technology continues to evolve and more people start to incorporate, or more companies start to incorporate it in their method of make and producing product, because what that's ultimately going to do is allow the cost to go down so it can become more accessible for everybody else. So I'm just kind of standing on the sideline waiting for that to happen because that could be a huge game changer for us, from many different fronts.
That sounds very exciting, sir. I, I'm like hanging on your every word. I'm excited. I don't even know anything about this industry, but I feel like I've learned so much just listening to you. This has been a master class. I forget
All
it's an
good.
interview. Okay, I should be paying for this information. Are there any upcoming collaborations or projects you guys are working on at Factory Lab that you can tease?
Um, yeah, we have one. When's this interview coming out?
What's today? It'll probably go up Monday.
Okay, Monday. So it might be too soon for me to tease that. But
Okay.
we have we have a what I can say is we have another big collaborations coming up with a big star, kind of like sort of like another big musical star, international. Um it's a female. That's all I can say. She's a female international uh music star that we have a collaboration with. I know we're going to be announcing real soon. Like I think within the next couple weeks or something that's going to happen. So super excited about that. We're going to be launching multiple pieces of footwear with her over the course of this year. And yeah, we're going to be doing our first rollout with her real soon. There's going to be a press release that'll go out, I think within the next couple weeks about our partnership. So super excited about that. We continue to grow our NFL player business. We launched a football cleat with Jalen Ramsey 2 years ago, and what made us different than than other brands is that we developed a cleat specifically for Jalen. Jalen's a Pro Bowl, All Pro cornerback for the Miami Dolphins. Been in the league for a long time. He's a veteran, very well respected, always been top of his class and an elite athlete. And we created a football cleat for him that was custom engineered, not custom designed, but custom engineered for him and him specifically by cast molding his foot and building a foot mold around his foot, which allowed us to build him a cleat that's way more comfortable and way more efficient than any cleat that he's played in the past. And in addition to that, the NFL tested it and it performed at the top of the of sort of the top of amongst all the cleats. I think ours tested top five amongst 40 some odd cleats that the league tests every year before the season starts, which is a huge result for us. So, and because of that success with Jalen and the cleat and the work that we've done with the league, it's evolved into about almost a dozen or so NFL players that we're working with this year, and those are I can say some of their names is Trent Williams, Trayvon Walker, Jonathan Taylor, and a handful Samson Ibukam, and a handful of other players who are building football cleats for us. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and then some new products that we have coming out. Some are collaborative, some are products that we're launching on our own. I'll be launching my own shoe very soon as well. There's going to be a Omar Bailey sort of like specific branded piece of footwear that's going to be coming
Nice.
out really soon too as well. Sort of going back and paying homage to the brand that I launched before I was at Yeezy for a bit in Dubai that I had. I had a brand called Omar Bailey Footwear that was sold in Dubai and Qatar and other parts of the Middle East. So kind of bringing that back again and excited about that. But other than that, the focus is to continue to build and grow this business and, try and turn it into, an empire, right? Like I'm trying to build a massive company and business that we want to scale. And, one day hopefully we'll be at, 300 million in revenue or more one of these days. So, yeah.
Very good, sir. Going back to Visionaries, I was preparing for this interview. I spent an unhealthy amount of time on social media. So I couldn't help but notice Keanu Reeves fans are so excited about this series. Anything he does, they just love, 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 right?
Yep.
And obviously, like you mentioned earlier, you had the opportunity to talk about your journey with this Hollywood icon. So, on that note, what was it like discussing your brand with him? And did Reeves share any insights or perspectives that resonated with you?
Yeah, well, one, like I said, it was an honor just to share, to be in space with him. I mean, I'm a big Keanu fan just as much as the rest of the world is, and he's just as nice as everyone asks, or as nice. He's just as nice as everyone thinks that he is, or says that he is, even if they haven't met him. No, it was great just being around him. He's not a man of many words. His presence sort of does the talking for you, but when he does speak, it's always very profound. And I found that he was just very inquisitive about what I did, and it caught his attention, and he was just very curious about it. Him and Guard, this whole show is about them being on sort of this journey or this quest of understanding where human creativity comes from, and they were just really fascinated by footwear and what I did and my design process, and we had a great time just learning about each other and them learning about me and vice versa, and their motorcycle brand and what they've started with Arch bikes, and how it sort of started this or sparked this conversation for understanding, like trying to find other people that do what they're doing on the motorcycle side, but in their world. So no, I was pleasantly surprised by just his genuine interest in what I was doing with footwear, and the parallels between automotive design and footwear design, which there are a lot. There's a lot of parallels between the two. In fact, a lot of our shoes. Some people say a lot of our shoes look like cars or look like boats or look like, vehicles that are aerodynamic, right? So I think there's even a moment in the show where we talk about that and sort of get into a little bit of detail of my design process. So yeah, it was great. Just like I said, being in his presence, and again, I'm forever appreciative of the opportunity and him shining his light on me and helping me get my story and my journey out there.
Right on.